Have you ever heard of a war that's lasted for decades, claimed millions of lives, and yet barely makes the headlines? Today, we're going deep into the heart of Africa, to the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country rich in resources but tragically impoverished by conflict. This isn't just a story about war. It's a story about survival, resilience, and a humanitarian crisis that the world cannot afford to ignore any longer. The story of Congo's suffering is complex, with roots stretching back through colonial exploitation, political instability, and regional power struggles. But the modern chapter of this tragedy really began in the mid-90s. The aftermath of the 1994 Rwandan genocide spilled across the border, igniting what would become known as Africa's World War. From 1996 to 2003, the First and Second Congo Wars involved at least 9 African nations and dozens of armed groups. The fighting was brutal, a chaotic struggle for power, resources, and ethnic dominance. While a formal peace accord was signed in 2003, the violence never truly ended. It simply fractured. It morphed. The conflict became decentralized, a persistent, low-grade fever of violence that continues to burn across the eastern provinces, particularly in North Kivu, South Kivu, and Ituri. Imagine living in a place where dozens, even hundreds, of armed militias roam the land. These groups, some local, some foreign, fight each other and the Congolese army. They terrorize communities, control illegal mines, and use violence as a tool of power. The numbers are staggering and almost impossible to comprehend. It is estimated that over 6 million people have died as a direct or indirect result of the conflict since 1996. Think about that figure. 6 million. That's more than the entire population of some countries. Many of these deaths aren't from bullets or machetes, but from preventable diseases, malnutrition, and the collapse of healthcare systems, the devastating ripple effects of perpetual war. For the people of Eastern Congo, displacement has become a way of life. When violence erupts in a village, families are forced to flee with nothing but the clothes on their backs. They run into the bush. They seek refuge in overcrowded camps, or they try to find safety in nearby towns, often with relatives who are already struggling. As of today, the DRC has one of the largest populations of internally displaced people in the world. We're talking about nearly 7 million people forced from their homes within their own country. These aren't just statistics. They are mothers, fathers, and children whose lives have been turned upside down. Life in a displacement camp is a daily struggle for survival. Shelter is often nothing more than a makeshift hut made of sticks and tarps, offering little protection from the elements. Food is scarce, and malnutrition, especially among children, is rampant. Clean water is a luxury, leading to outbreaks of diseases like cholera. For women and girls, the risks are even greater. They face the constant threat of violence, not just from armed groups, but within the desperate and overcrowded camps themselves. The psychological trauma is immense. Children have witnessed horrors no one should ever see. They've lost parents, siblings, and their sense of security. An entire generation is growing up knowing nothing but conflict and displacement. Their education is disrupted, their futures stolen. What fuels this endless cycle of violence? A major driver is the illegal exploitation of Congo's vast mineral wealth. The DRC is incredibly rich in resources like gold, diamonds, and most critically for our modern world, coltan and cobalt. Coltan is essential for making our smartphones and laptops. Cobalt is a key component in the rechargeable batteries that power our electric cars and electronic devices. Many mines in eastern Congo are controlled by armed groups. They use forced labor, including child labor, to extract these minerals. The profits from this illicit trade are then used to buy weapons, pay fighters, and continue their reign of terror. This creates a vicious cycle. The global demand for these minerals fuels the conflict, and the conflict ensures the armed groups maintain their control over the mines. We are all, in some small way, connected to this conflict through the devices we use every day. It's a deeply uncomfortable truth, but one we must confront. The Congolese army, along with the United Nations peacekeeping mission known as MONUSCO, has been trying to stabilize the region for years. But the task is monumental. The terrain is difficult, the borders are porous, and the sheer number of armed groups is overwhelming. Despite their efforts, civilians often find themselves caught in the crossfire, unprotected. There is a deep-seated frustration among the Congolese people, who feel abandoned by both their own government and the international community. They see peacekeepers but don't feel safe. They hear promises but see no change. But amidst this darkness, there is incredible strength and resilience. Local communities, civil society organizations, and countless unsung heroes are working tirelessly to build peace from the ground up. They are documenting human rights abuses, providing aid to the displaced, offering trauma counseling, and creating safe spaces for children. They are mediating local conflicts, helping ex-combatants reintegrate into society, and advocating for justice. These are the people on the front lines, risking their lives to mend the torn fabric of their society. Their courage is a powerful reminder that the desire for peace is stronger than the forces of war. International humanitarian organizations are also on the ground, delivering life-saving assistance. They run feeding centers, mobile clinics, and child protection programs. But their resources are stretched to the breaking point. The scale of the crisis in Congo is so massive that it consistently outstrips the available funding. It is one of the most underfunded humanitarian crises in the world, a silent emergency happening in plain sight. So, what can be done? The path to a lasting peace in the DRC is incredibly complex and requires action on multiple fronts. First, there needs to be a renewed and sustained diplomatic push to address the root causes of the conflict, including political instability and regional rivalries. Peace agreements must be inclusive and enforced. Second, the link between mineral resources and conflict must be broken. This involves greater transparency in supply chains, holding corporations accountable, and supporting legal conflict-free mining initiatives that benefit local communities instead of armed militias. Third, and perhaps most urgently, the humanitarian response needs to be fully funded. The world must not turn its back on the millions of Congolese people in desperate need of food, shelter, and medical care. And finally, we must support the local peacebuilders. They are the true agents of change. Empowering them, funding their work, and amplifying their voices is crucial for building a sustainable peace from within. The story of the Democratic Republic of Congo is not just an African story. It's a human story. It's a story of immense suffering, but also of incredible resilience. It is a crisis fueled by global consumption and ignored by global indifference. We cannot let it remain in the shadows. By learning, by speaking out, and by supporting the organizations working on the ground, we can help shine a light on this forgotten war. We can demand more from our leaders and from the companies that make our products. The people of Congo deserve more than our pity. They deserve our attention, our solidarity, and our action. They deserve peace. Thank you for watching and for taking the time to understand this critical issue. If you found this video informative, please share it to raise awareness. Subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world.